Welcome. This week we're going to go over lessons 113 through 116. Usually I have something to say right now, but I don't. So we're just going to go straight on to seeing what materials are going to be needed for this week. You're going to need your geared clock, a dry erase board, appendix page 18, clocks on the half hour, the clock numbers that you cut out last week, scissors if you want your child to cut anything out, the math card game book along with the appendix page 15, the geometry reflector, tangrams, the math balance, along with 2 cups for weighing. So if you saved any of those cups that you used a few lessons ago, that would be great. The worksheets, the abacus, the centimeter cubes, and the tiles. Lesson 113, the half hours. All right, enrichment lesson, just like the clock lessons you've been doing the last 2 weeks. Just know this is the last one. And then we're done with clocks in level A. So the big focus in this lesson is working with the minute hands, as well as being able to recognize like 30, like 12:30, 1:30, 4:30 on the clock. This is where you need appendix page 18, the clocks on the half hour, as well as these bottom numbers with the 30, like the 2:30, the 4:30. These need to be cut out if you have not already cut them out. This is also going to be used in the game. It's just like last week when you did the o'clocks. You're going to play a very similar game with the 30 or on the half hour. That sounds probably better than saying 30. Again, you can use this appendix page, put in a page protector, or you can draw a clock on the dry erase board. Lesson 114, tangram puzzles. In this lesson, you're going to be working with the tangrams. Your child is also going to learn the term parallelogram. That's a big word. Your child may do fine with saying this big word, maybe not. Just know they're being introduced to it. They're going to hear it again in level B and in level C and D and E and F and G and H if they go the distance. So if you take 2 triangles and you put them together as such, you get a parallelogram. This edge and this edge are parallel. This edge and this edge are parallel. That's what makes it a parallelogram. So a basic definition for a parallelogram is that it's a shape that has 2 sets of parallel lines. 1 set, 2 sets. I'm just going to let you know right now, some children may struggle with this lesson because of some spatial recognition. I personally have issues with spatial recognition, so working with tangrams can be a little bit challenging even for someone my age. Don't be surprised if you may have a child that struggles with it. But here's the thing. Don't just give them the answer. Don't give any of the children the answer. Give them some time to work it through, to persevere. They need to learn. This applies in every other area, not just in math. All right, sometimes we just have to work a little harder. We need to learn to persevere, not to give up. Now, when it gets to a point and you can tell that they are done, they have done their best, they have tried, then you can come in and ask them, would you like me to help you? But that doesn't mean that you're going to solve it for them. You're going to guide them. For example, maybe they try this all different ways. You know, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing something like this. They do this. Maybe they don't see that they have to do something like this. So if you've watched them and they're struggling, you could come in and you can point out, right? This has this really long side here. And we know, so you can see that's not, so we're not going to use the 2 long sides. So tell them to try putting 2 of the shorter sides together. And, maybe they do it like this. I'm like, all right, that's great. Is there another way? Like maybe leave one, don't move this one around, but try this one now. Ah, see, that's it. So you're not telling them necessarily how to do it, you're guiding them to discovering it. So in the worksheet, notice there's like these dots in here. Children may think they just need to make lines on those dots, and they will, but they're going to be different. Each one is different. Let them persevere, keep an eye on them, and then ask them, would you like a clue? They may not want a clue, or maybe they're ready for a clue. Just don't tell them straight out what the answer is. Let them try to discover it. Lesson 115, more tangram puzzles. So the big part of this lesson, you'll be using the math balance with those 2 cups, and your child's going to be using it to weigh some of the pieces. And you're not using the weights for the math balance, you're just using the tangram pieces themselves. So you have a square. If I put the square on one side, will these 2 triangles balance? So we don't really think about that weight-wise, but we know that these 2 triangles can form a square. How neat is it to try to weigh them and see that the 2 triangles are going to equal the square? So hopefully your children will enjoy that part of the lesson, and you don't have to worry about the weights from the math balance not having the right weight on them, because you're just going to work with the tangrams. And then worksheet 44 is very similar to worksheet 43, except they don't have those little dots on there. And again, watch your child. Encourage them to persevere. If you're watching and they're really, really struggling, like I said, I struggle with spatial recognition, or I'm not quite sure the proper terminology, but I have a hard time seeing in my mind like the tangrams and how they fit. Like example, these are fairly basic for me, but for your child, they're young, they're learning. So it might be a little bit of a struggle for them to figure out what small tangram pieces can fit in the shape. And look, there's 2 of them. So it can be done 2 different ways. So here's what I encourage you to do. If you have a child that does struggle with this and you're watching and you know they're truly struggling, they're not just being lazy, they're not just wanting mom or dad to come in and give them the answer, all right, then ask them, would you like a clue? And then give them a piece, give them one of the pieces. Or maybe you pull out the specific pieces that go in that shape. You give it to them and you let them play around with it for a little bit to see if they could get it to work. Then if they can't, then you can ask them, hey, would you like a clue? And you could put one piece, just one piece in, and then see if they could come up with the others on their own. And kind of go from there. And if not, then put a second piece in. Most of these use 3 pieces. So if you get 2 in, they better know where that third one goes. Hopefully. Last lesson for this week, lesson 116, introducing division. Yes, division. Just like we introduced multiplication, we've got a short little lesson here on division. And mind you, they've been doing some halving and they've been doing some doubling. So this is something that they should be able to do. And how exciting for them to get to go tell others that they did some division in math today. I like the way Right Start does this. If you look on the first page in the first section about sharing a problem, the centimeter cubes are there to represent a person. So it's just helping the child to remind them we have 1 person, 2, so there's 4. There's 4 people. The librarian has 8 books. How many are each of the children going to get? And so they can use the tiles the 8 tiles, and then they could distribute it to each child. So they're going to see how many they could get. And then we're going to do some work on the abacus. I'm going to switch over to a different camera so I can show you how this works. I mean, the pictures are probably self-explanatory, but I do know that this could get just a tad bit confusing for some people. So I just want to make sure you understand it before you work it with your children. All right, so we're going to do our 4 cubes to represent 4 children. One for each line, or one for each row. All right, we have our books. And now we're going to distribute them. And it's best if your child does it at the same time. They're going to take one away and bring one in. Okay, we're going to give another child a book. We're going to give another child a book. All right, we still have some to give away. It's not going to be equal here. So let's give this child a book. We're going to give the third child a book. We're going to give the fourth. We'll give the fourth child a book. And we can see that each child is going to get 2 books. So we're using the take and give to share. All right, so here's the another example, and it has it starting off this way. We're going to have 3 children this time. Now, honestly, I'm not sure why we start on these first 2 rows. Personally, I would move these down. So, well, let's do that. So this way, each child doesn't have anything. And we have enough. We could do 2 at a time. So we're going to do 2, because remember, it's like we're handing them the balloons. We're going to take these 2 balloons. We're going to give it to the second child. We're going to take these balloons, give it to the third child. Now, you know there's enough to do 2 more. Your child may not know, so they may just do 1, and that's okay. We'll give them 1 balloon. We're going to give them 1 balloon. Oh, we still have some more to give away. Remember, we want the children to do the same time. We're taking and we're giving. All right. And now we can see that if there were 3 children and there was 12 balloons that we had to give to 3 children, each child would get 4. I think the take and give is fun to do on the abacus. I hope your children enjoy it. I find myself doing this at conventions. When it gets really slow, I'll put in some numbers and divvy them out like that, just for something to do. I don't know. There's something about it I enjoy. I know, a little weird, but hopefully your kids will enjoy it too. We are done for this week. And did you notice there were no games assigned for the lessons? Again, just like I said last week, this is where you can take time and play some of those games that are specifically focusing on those areas that you feel your child needs to work on, or just that they enjoy. It's always good to play some of these games to keep those facts fresh. And guess what? We are so close to being done. We're going to go into fractions next week, and for a few more lessons after that, but 2 more weeks. And we're going to start getting into the review and assessments, and then we're done. We're done. So you might want to start thinking about something fun you can do to celebrate when you finish this lesson book. Join me next week as we go over lessons 117 through 120. Until then.